10th of March 2020. India was celebrating the Festival of Colors. And suddenly, after a few days, we came to know about a new term, lockdown.
हिंदुस्तान को बचाने के लिए, हिंदुस्तान के हर नागरिक को बचाने के लिए, आपको बचाने के लिए, आपके परिवार को बचाने के लिए आज रात 12 बजे से घरों से बाहर निकलने पर पूरी तरह पाबंदी लगाई जा रही है।
Hello everyone, this is Anupam, a student of class 12 C. Today, on this Oxygen Week, I'm going to share some of my thoughts or views on the current COVID situation in India. Dealing with a pandemic in a hugely populous country like India is no less than fighting a battle. It's indeed a global scale war, but for our country, it's an ultimate one. Let's admit it, last year was no less than a nightmare. Earthquake, cyclone, flood, COVID, tragedies, and the list goes on. But as you know, every coin has two sides. Due to lockdowns and other restrictions, our earth was healing really fast. On the other hand, some good habits like wearing masks and washing hands became an integral part of our life. But have you ever wondered how a simple soap or sanitizer could neutralize such a deadly virus? By the way, I did. Let's have a quick look on the process.
This is what a virus, like coronavirus, looks like. It's a bit of material surrounded by a coating of proteins and fat. Viruses easily stick to places like your hands, but when you rinse your hands with just water, it rushes right over the virus. That's because that layer of fat makes the virus behave kind of like a drop of oil. You can see it happening in this demonstration. Oils are just liquid fats. What happens when you pour oil into water? It floats. It doesn't mix. But add soap, and suddenly that fatty oil dissolves into the water. That's because inside, soap has two-sided molecules. One end of the molecule is attracted to water, the other end to fat. So when the soap molecules come in contact with water and fat, these dual attractions literally pull the fat apart, surrounding the oil particles and dispersing them through the water. Let's go back to our coronavirus molecule with that layer of fat holding everything together. When it interacts with soap, bam, that fat gets pulled out by the soap. Soap literally pulls apart and demolishes these viruses. And then the water rinses the harmless leftover shards of virus down the drain. But, and you know where I'm going with this, it takes time for this effect to happen. 20 seconds to be specific. Hand sanitizer works too because it's mostly alcohol, and alcohol works in a somewhat similar way to soap, breaking down that fatty layer. You need a high concentration of alcohol to make that work. The CDC recommends hand sanitizers with at least 60% alcohol. But even with 60% alcohol, the CDC recommends using soap if you can. If your hands are sweaty or dirty when you use the sanitizer, that can dilute it and diminish its effectiveness.
The hearts were beating, and the clocks were ticking faster. Everyone thought that it was the last day of the nightmare. The brand new year started with this.
नमस्कार। हमारा देश और पूरा विश्व आज कोविड-19 की चुनौती का सामना कर रहा है। कोविड-19 अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ है। ऐसे में हमारा फर्ज है कि हम सतर्क रहें। इसलिए जब तक दवाई नहीं तब तक कोई ढिलाई नहीं।
The curve was rising again, but this time it was worse than the former. On the other hand, India was preparing for the largest vaccination drive in the world.
अब से कुछ ही मिनट बाद भारत में दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा टीकाकरण अभियान शुरू होने जा रहा है। मैं सभी देशवासियों को इसके लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं।
Now comes the most important part, the oxygen crisis. As the second wave of the pandemic continues to overwhelm India's medical infrastructure, we are continuously facing the shortfall in the supply of medical oxygen. Currently, India is producing 7,000 tons of liquid oxygen per day, enough for our 1.3 billion people. Then a question arises, what's really behind this shortage? Lack of cryogenic tankers is one of them. Most oxygen productions in India are for industrial use. People are even lining up in front of factories. That's hilarious. There is literally an urgent need to understand the difference between medical oxygen and industrial oxygen. The air we breathe in our atmosphere consists of about 21% oxygen. Medical interventions may become necessary for a certain group of people, like the critical COVID patients. Due to high risk of contamination from incorrect compressor, medical compressors generally come in oil-free or oil-less variant, whereas industrial oxygen is manufactured for certain purposes that may include combustion, oxidation, and even for certain chemical reactions. They are not at all intended to be inhaled, just like medical oxygen. There's a high risk of contamination as well in using industrial oxygen for medical purposes. Alright guys, that's all from my side. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If yes, do share your feedback in the chat box or in the comment section. Thanks again.